For those of you who are already there, Jo and I thought it might be quite fun, or quite necessary, perhaps fun is the wrong word, given the news that has just come out. While we're just waiting for people to join us, we thought we'd have a little tap on anxiety, because I'm feeling quite nervous because this is the first time that I've done something like this, and just want to make sure that we're in the best possible state and place to do it. So, okay, Jo, over to you. I'm going to let you lead this.
Okay.
Just have a little talk, and then I'll introduce the live.
I'm sure that lots of your people in your group know about tapping, and they've done a bit of it or seen you doing some tapping in your group. So we'll just kind of crack right on, and everyone just follow along and repeat after me. You can do it in your head or out loud, that's fine. But if you just tap on the side of your hand, it's a tuning in point, soft spot on the side of your hand. And we're just going to tune in with our feet on the floor. Take a big breath. And accept the problem. So even though there's all this uncertainty in the world, I accept who I am right here, right now. And then we're just going to tap around the points. All that uncertainty. All that uncertainty. We live in an uncertain world. Uncertainty coming out of the telly every day. Portrayed in the media. Our uncertain world that we can't control. Big breaths. Under the arm. And inside the wrist. And then we're going to do each finger in turn, so just the side of our nails. All of that uncertainty. I don't need to control it today. I can let flow and be creative and happy. Just go around one more time, big deep breath. I don't have to fight this uncertainty. I can go with the flow. It's my choice to relax and enjoy today, just in the moment. Big breaths, little fingers again. There we go. Let it go. There we go. And then put our hands across our chest, feet on the floor, and a big deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. Two more times. There we go, all calm. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you. There was a bit of a lag in the timing, so I'm a bit behind you. I hope that people were able to follow. I hope they were watching you and not me, because I was.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's a few people online, so that's nice. So
that is. So let me start then. So this is day one of the launch of my new book, which is Understanding Children and Teens.
Amazing.
The reason that I'm having to do a Facebook Live book launch is, of course, because of the pandemic, which means that instead of doing the usual sort of being in a bookshop bit where you invite customers of the bookshop, you talk about your book and you do a book signing, none of that's possible. But having said that, I'd really love it if people could support their bookshops, because it's going to be a difficult time. So if you could buy my book from a bookshop, that would be super good. I'd really appreciate it. Other than that, you can buy a signed copy from me, or of course you can go to Amazon. So the reason that I've started with Tappy Jo is partly because there's a chapter in my book on EFT, but EFT is a doing thing. It's a practical skill, it's a practical technique that is brilliant to share with your children, to share with each other, to share as a family, for teachers as well. And this is where Tappy Jo is the expert. So I'd love you to experience how she does it. And the reason I've chosen tapping for today is because it's Halloween. And my daughter's partner's little children are with us, and they're getting very excited for Halloween. In fact, they're going off to Sainsbury's to buy stuff for Halloween. They're going to get dressed up. And clients I've had this week have been talking about it. And the sort of Halloween, the theme really is trick or treat, isn't it? And trick isn't so great. Treat, yeah, yum, usually edible. And so there's sort of, it could be one, could be the other. There's the element of uncertainty. And a lot of children really struggle with uncertainty and change. And I think we do too, especially in these times. So you'll find in the book there is a chart to show you the tapping points, and you'll find some people have different tapping points. So don't worry too much if Jo takes you through slightly different tapping points, because she works in schools and she works with children in schools. So she may adapt what she does to suit the different children, the classes, the ages. So I'm going to hand over to her, my expert for the day, and she'll introduce herself and talk you through EFT tapping. Over to you, Jo.
Thank you, Judy. Morning, everybody. It's really exciting to have been asked to be the first speaker on Judy's book launch. It's just, she so understands child development and what children need to thrive, and it's just wonderful that she's condensed all of that down into a book. And it's just, you need to go out and read it and empower yourselves as parents and educators, whether that's nursery right through to university lecturers. It's not exclusive of any age range. So I'm Tappy Jo, so Jo Picken, but Tappy Jo, as the kids started to call me in my last school that I worked at. I literally love what I do. I light up when I work with kids. I have, in a previous life, was a teacher for nearly 20 years, and always kind of struggled with the concept that we couldn't teach the whole child, that it was teaching the topics and not looking after the whole well-being of a child, just because teachers don't have the time and the facilities and the backup of the school maybe, or policy changes. So when I had my own mental health wobble, I discovered EFT, and I talk about that a lot on kind of in my social media. I realised that this needed to be shared in schools and with children and empower kids to feel better, because trauma can be tiny to a child, but huge if an adult thinks, oh, that child can't go and do perhaps drama on the stage, and it can be something so tiny that's been kind of made huge in their world. So to be able for them to take control of it is really important, that it's not something that's done to them. EFT, you can take it as a skill and empower that child to feel better and control their own emotions, which ultimately, as an educator, ticks all my boxes of children accessing the classroom and being happy and empowered and thriving. So I learned EFT and I started to take it into private practice with young people. And then I was asked to go and work in a school, which was just life-changing for me and for the children and the staff in that school. Excuse me. So I've worked with children as young as 6 up to 19. So this can be applied to adults as much as it can be for children. Simplify the tapping for younger children, but essentially the tapping points are just the same no matter what you would do, whether you were working with a young child, excuse me, or if you were working with a teenager. The only thing that I like to do with young people is tend to tap in positive words. So it kind of flips the whole idea of EFT on, or how we've trained, on its head. And Judy will agree, we're trained to focus on the negative. And actually, if you empower children with positive words and you tap in positive words, they can kind of release some of that negativity just through feeling better about positive stuff that they want in their life. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to kind of turn it on its head, because you will have possibly seen Judy tapping on negative issues, and we can, and I just did that just earlier on at the beginning of this session, but we're going to tap in some wonderful words, some words that can make you feel amazing. So if we choose 3 words, and we're just going to tap those in on all of the tapping points, and you can follow along. And I've just done a little bit of tapping for those of you that were here earlier, but if you can follow along and repeat the words after me, it'd be really lovely. So we're going to tune in to the side of our hand, and we're going to tap in 3 words, and those 3 words are going to be brave, kind, and amazing. So everyone would like to be a little bit more brave. Everyone likes being a kind person, and my thing is about being amazing. I always want everyone to feel amazing. So brave, kind, and amazing. So we're going to tap on the side of our hand, on the soft spot on the side of our hand. Sometimes it's called, I'm not sure if Judy calls it the karate chop point in her book, but yeah, so it's sometimes called the karate chop point. So using any amount of fingers, it could be 1, 2, or 3, that's fine. On either hand, doesn't have to be one or the other. I tend to tap with my right hand. So tapping on the side of your hand, we're going to accept the problem. Big deep breath. So even though, and you would repeat after me, even though there's all this uncertainty in the world, it's Halloween, and it's a different Halloween, but I choose to accept who I am right now. So even though Halloween sometimes makes me scared, I choose to accept who I am right now. All this uncertainty in the world makes me scared. I accept who I am right now. And then we're going to tap in some of those brave words. So, I'm so brave. I am full of joy. I am full of kindness. I am full of amazing. I added a word in, but I must have needed to say joy. I am full of amazingness. I am amazing. I am brave. I am kind. I am amazing. And by tapping in these words, I am brave, I am kind, finger points, I am amazing. I am Jo, say your own name. I am brave, I am kind, I am amazing. Just going to take a breath. Now that's a basic principle of how EFT tapping in positive words works. But you might be sitting there thinking, what is this all about? And how does it actually work? So EFT is based on the idea of ancient Chinese acupressure. So it's a bit like acupuncture without the needles. So it's pressure on certain meridian points around the body. Those meridian points, I always tell adults, it's a little bit like a motorway in your body, lots and lots of motorways. And at those junction points, when we're driving on the motorway, the M25, you always get caught up at certain junction points, don't you? Always. And at those junction points, you can get quite a negative reaction. So if you think that the meridians are like motorways, and at the crossing points is where we tap on the tapping protocol, that means it will clear that backed up motorway and it allow good flow of energy around our body. Now, if you're a child, I love to explain it's a bit like Star Wars. If anyone's watched Star Wars, and the Jedis have the Force, it's a little bit like the Force flowing around your body. You control your own Force, and by tapping on your body, the Force can flow really well, and you can do amazing things. It's a bit like being a Jedi Knight. And who doesn't want to be a Jedi, eh? everyone wants to be a Jedi, don't they? So the idea is that you clear all of those backed up bits of negativity at those cross points in your body to allow good flow of energy, and that allows you not to be triggered by certain events, or have maybe anxiety or depression or reactions to stress. And that's the same in children as it is in adults. I've worked with hundreds of children and had an amazing effect on young people. As Judy knows, it is so empowering, and wonderful to watch when a child can come back and say, "Oh, I didn't have a problem with that," because they now no longer realise that there was a problem with the issue in the first place, and it's just wonderful. It really is. But it's that. Is there anything more you would like me to say, Judy? Would you like me to do a little bit more tapping?
Yes, I think that would be nice. Also, maybe talk about how you do it in the classroom, how you do it with
Yeah.
children.
Okay. So so when I've been working in school, so private practice is slightly different. So you would have children come to you in your home or your clinic in a space that you have designated to tapping with children. But in a school, it's really different. And I was really lucky to be employed as an EFT practitioner in a school environment. I had my own room, and I used to go and collect the children in individually or in small groups, depending on the need. Sometimes in small groups, if their need was similar, we used to tap on certain issues. So perhaps a group of young people might be having issues with social groups and friendship dynamics, and I would have a little group of maybe 4, sometimes 5, a little group of children together that were having the same problem. They didn't necessarily have to be in the same class, but they were having the same problem within school, and we would have a little tap on the problem, and then we would do some positive tapping as well, but all the time encouraging the children to talk about their emotions and use words to describe how they were feeling about those things, because if they can get it out, it's not getting stuck in their bodies. On a one-to-one session, if there was a presenting trauma or a bigger issue that needed several one-to-one sessions, then we would do a more traditional, especially with the older children, a more traditional EFT session, dealing with the problem, finishing with the positive tapping, so they went off feeling really like super excited about their day. With some of the younger ones, with the one-to-one sessions, because I've worked a lot with children with ASD, autism, a lot of their problems stem from their lack of social understanding and their lack of awareness of facial expressions. So I used to do a lot of work on how they can use skills to understand their world and tap on the problems as they came up. So it's a really different scenario working with children with SEN issues and working with children without SEN issues. They have lots of the time the same problems. For example, it could be my mum gives me peas every night for tea and I hate peas. But it could also be situations such as caged children. So not caged as in like in a dog crate, but shut away children that perhaps have been put into a room at school because they can't be dealt with and don't get to see their peer groups. So I've dealt with children that have got what adults would class as quite big trauma, right through to I don't like that science teacher, or I don't like maths, or I can't do. I get very nervous when I have to do exams. So there's all of those normal kind of triggers that children have in their school life, and we can think as adults, we can think back to times when we were triggered and the teacher you used to hate, or the class you just despised because you just couldn't understand. For me, it was maths and spelling. It just didn't. I'm dyslexic and have ADHD, so I kind of really empathise with the kids with special needs. But it could be something really simple that they just don't want to be in school because they want to be at home with their mum and they have separation anxiety. All of those things can be dealt with tapping, dealing with the issue, but also tapping in those positive words too, because they are vital to my practice. I wouldn't be without the positive words. I have them all. I don't have them out at the moment, but I have them all laminated so a child can take the ones they choose home. Because not all children can think of the words, and that's something that's kind of over the years of doing this. I don't know whether Judy's found this too, that children find it hard to, well, how are you feeling? "Well, I don't know." And you might just get a grunt. They can't always, but if you have positive and negative words laid out or up on the board, or they can start to identify how they're feeling. And that's really important for children to be able to verbalize, because lots of the time we do just think kids' poor behavior or bad behavior is exactly that. And actually, it's a mask to cover up other feelings they just don't know how to express. Whereas tapping can kind of get right through that, and kind of get past that filter and get through to the issues that children have. And they could be something very simple, or it could be something very complicated. Um, I had my first client was a young lady who hadn't been, and she doesn't mind me talking because I have permission to speak about her. She's absolutely wonderful. And she had been we call a school refuser. So she had refused to go to school since about 6 years old, and she was 12. So it had been a really long time. And in the middle of August this year, she just passed another load of GCSEs early because we did some tapping. We released a load of stuff within the family because mum joined in too, and it was stuff that was in the family unit. Released a load of that, and she's now doing amazingly, and I'm incredibly proud, and we're still in touch, and I get to find out all of what this young lady's doing, and I can't wait for her to go off to university and be amazing. But she was refusing to go to school. Like, they had battles every day, and it was to do with just after birth and the relationship built with family around that period of time, from birth to 18 months. So the impact can be huge from something you don't even necessarily realise as an adult, and the impact it has on a child can be lifelong if it's not dealt with. Judy's nodding away, so I think you've had those.
That's because we discussed whether we were going to mention that. We thought, no, that could be a bit.
It was not necessarily the birth, but it was kind of coming home in that part of there. It wasn't necessarily something that the young lady remembered, but
Yeah.
The whole family dynamic. And it isn't just family dynamic. It can be those kind of classic being bullied, not fitting in, being different, those kind of things. It can be all kinds of stuff. Not liking school dinners and having to have them. It can be lots and lots of things.
And I think that sort of leads me on really to saying that sorry, but it's difficult with the overlap. I don't know.
Oh, that's okay.
Um, I'm not sure whether Jo's speaking at the moment. I don't want to talk over her. That sort of brings me on, though, to saying that you can tap on anything. And some of the clients I've got at the moment, I've got children who are really struggling with sleep, who are sort of going to sleep and then waking up and not getting back to sleep, or not able to go to sleep till about 10 or 11 o'clock, getting very tired. Also children who are having trouble with sort of constipation, not being able to go to the toilet, school refusers, as Jo was saying, and simply overwhelm. Like you just don't know what it is. So this is the things, so sometimes mums say, well, what can we tap on? You can tap on anything, even though I don't know, so if I just sort of show you here, even though I don't know what I'm feeling, even though I have all these bad feelings, even though I'm confused, I don't understand, I don't know what to do. I just feel, and it's unlikely that a child would use overwhelm, but it's just like, it's everything, even though it's just everything. And I just don't know. So when you're doing some tapping with your child, or whether you're doing a tapping with a teacher, if a teacher is doing tapping in school, it's just whatever comes up, whatever crazy word. It might just be, even though I'm feeling wobbly, even though I feel sick in my stomach, So just tap on what comes up. The other thing I wanted to mention was little children. When I'm working with children, preschool children, I ask them to bring in their teddy bear or their cuddly, whatever they take to bed. I wish I brought my teddy today, actually.
I have mine.
But hey, you've got yours though. Maybe you could
Yeah.
show. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, great. Thank you, Jo. Could you just show us how we do it with a teddy bear? Because I think that
So
might be really useful if people have got younger children.
so you would just tap on the same points, ooh, as you would do um, on yourself. You just literally tap on the same points. Oh, put him down too low. Just tap on the same points, and a child. I find that when I've taken my bear, when I used to be able to take my bears into schools and work with children, that they had their special bear, their one that they like to tap with, and so and by doing this, they are clearing their own energy, but it's a case of doing it slightly outside of themselves. They don't have to have that feeling, because sometimes it is a bit of an odd feeling for children, especially little ones. And all we're doing is making the bear feel better. And so for little children, it kind of is easier to cope with. Hard to do it backward, back way around. It's easier to cope with because it is just a natural thing. And then you can encourage them to have a bear at home or tap on their teddy. And by proxy, they would learn, or they would have their energy flowed. But this is my one. He's super cuddly.
So,
Big Ted, this one.
so mums can say to the small child, What's bear afraid of? Is bear afraid? You know, and it might then children can say, Bear's afraid of the dark. Bear's afraid of being alone. Bear, you know.
Because it is detached from them, they're able to express it easier. Lots of children find that easier. Some don't. Some will look at you like you are bonkers. But the smaller children, they tend to, and some of the children I've worked with, some of the older ones with ASD, find it really calming, and because they've got something soft to play with. Some sensory children wouldn't like the soft, they wouldn't like the fabric, but if you can find one that works. I also find working with a worry monster, where children can put their worry in the worry monster's mouth and the worry monster eats it. You just have to remember as an adult to remove the worry. And if you haven't, think on your feet. And a really good answer, that's a very good tip. It's quite a big worry. Perhaps the worry monster's finding it hard to digest this one. So just have to wait a couple more days, but remember to remove it. So it is quite good to keep a track as well, because they've written it down.
Okay. So I think I can talk now. It's hard to know whether Jo's still talking because I can still see her lips moving. Okay. So we're coming to the end now, a few minutes before 10 o'clock. So what I just wanted to remind you to do is, if you'd like to enter your name for the prize draw that's going to be held on the actual book launch day, which is November the 9th, please could you put your email address in the comments below, or you can send me a direct message with your email address and ask me to put it in the prize draw. There's going to be signed copies of my book, surprise, surprise. But there's also things from some of our other speakers. So Wendy Wu, who's speaking to us tomorrow about the mood stars. There's a set of mood stars. Olive Hickmott, who's speaking to us about learning difficulties, which I hate that expression, but using NLP particularly for visual spelling, visual learners. She's offered us some of her books, and also Alitsa Velikova, who runs the Art Therapy Institute in Bulgaria, and I use quite a lot of her materials. I got a set of her art therapy cards. So there's quite a few, and also some other resources that I use. So there's a lot of prizes. So please put your email address below. And Jo, if you would put your link to your Facebook group and your details as well, so people can find you, that would be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, feel free. Yeah, if you search Tappy Jo, I come up.
Hello.
Of lots of things. So if anyone wants to say hi, that would be really lovely. I'm happy to help and advise. Just let me know that you're from Judy's group, and I'll help you out with any questions that you have specifically to EFT and young people.
Great. So thank you ever so much, Jo, and we'll say goodbye now.
Thank you very much. Be amazing, everybody.
And bye.